Hey everyone, I think we've joined a little early, but this is very exciting for all of us. We're officially doing this on LinkedIn Live. And hey Bharat, good to see you. And I just want to set some context. Obviously, we'll wait for a couple of minutes before we truly start going full throttle. And today we're going to obviously talk about integrating Lovable and Lyzr, how you can prototype and build working AI agents, I would say, in less than 30 minutes, right? So Jeremy's going to show you some simple use cases as well as like supremely complex use cases that you could build quickly. Um, but let me start by saying, man, we have 1,400 people that signed up for the webinar. So, Jeremy, I think that just shows that I think stakes are high. I think people want to know exactly how to build agents today. And I think it's not a reflection of our marketing one bit. I think it's an absolute reflection of people wanting to learn the skill. Obviously, the agent space is hot, and the fact that it's possible. And maybe I'll tell you a little story about how. So, I think, Jeremy, it's been how long since you joined us at Lyzr?
It's not. It hasn't been 2 months yet. Almost 2 months.
And when you joined Lyzr, what was your skill level with Lyzr and Lovable or any of these other platforms?
I was familiar with Lyzr from being from a partner. So I'd built agents before. I'd never used Lovable or any other similar tools before.
And it started there. And I would say within maybe less than 3 or 4 weeks, I've seen Jeremy spin out at least 15, 20 unbelievable prototypes, not just for clients, but for us internally as well. And I think we've been like, man, can you do a masterclass for us internally? And we were really excited. We were like, okay, why don't we open this up? And we opened this up, and it's good to see we've had 1,400 people join, and a lot of people maybe within Lyzr are also going to see this masterclass for the first time. So I'll just set the stage, maybe Jeremy, just for like a minute or so, and then we'll move forward. Uh, we're going to do this for like 45 minutes. Obviously, Jeremy will walk you through what we're going to cover today. But at the end of the session, you'll get the deck. You'll most probably get a lot of the links that Jeremy's made in terms of prototype. And feel free to reach out to us. Obviously, we'll have an email link. We'll have a sign up for a demo. Happy to kind of, if you booked a demo, happy for you to sign up and then actually build a working prototype if that's a use case that you want to kind of automate for your enterprise, right? Uh, why don't we start getting some comments in, Jeremy? While you begin, I'd love to hear from all of you. Like, where are you dialing in from, and have you started or tried building prototypes at all? And then what's the use case you're looking to build? And Jeremy, over to you.
Great. Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Ani. Just before I get started, I just wanted to start off with a little bit of honesty. Before I learned about these tools, I used to spend hours, sometimes whole weekends, building demos for customers. I would use tools like Python and Streamlit. But once I discovered using these tools, everything changed. I'm talking about being able to build agent powered apps with clean UIs and flexible backends in under an hour. Demos that not only look good, but also show off real world AI functionality. And it's not just fast, it's also fun. So today's session is all about helping you guys do the same thing. Whether you're trying to impress a customer, align your team on a new idea, or validate a product, this new workflow can save you days, if not weeks, of development time. So before I get into it, let me just show you what's possible with these tools. So what you can see right here is a campaign strategy agent application that I built for a customer. I white labeled it, but the role of this application is really to build you a comprehensive marketing strategy based on what you build or based on your topic. So let's say that your campaign strategy is around an all natural fruit juice targeting health conscious working professionals. By entering just that sentence into this application, it'll create a comprehensive marketing strategy for you. You can see here, here's the summary. Here's the audience targets that your campaign should go after. There's a tab for different channels that your marketing campaign should look into. There's an area for the budget, and there's also some ways that you can do some scenario planning by adjusting your budget across different channels. and then finally a timeline that shows you how you should execute your marketing plan. So this is an application that I built in maybe a day. Um, and it also has some functionality such as the ability to connect to an AI backend, because what I showed you was really a demo. So this allows you to customize your app in any way you want. So if you wanted to sell a Lyzr platform to startups, you can do so here, and or you can upload a marketing brief. Once you hit the marketing strategy, you can see that this is actually connecting to an agent on the Lyzr platform in the back end. This is why it's taking a little bit longer. But you can see it's connected to the API. It's processing the API response. And in a few seconds, it's going to generate that custom marketing campaign based on my input. Um, you can build an application like this, just like I did, very easily. So you can see here, here's the results. This is much more intuitive and much easier to navigate than a traditional ChatGPT conversation. So that's really what's possible with Lyzr and Lovable. Um, so today, or the app that I just showed you, also includes the welcome modal, and so to help users use it. So this is one of the things that you can easily add to your application to ensure that users understand all the functionality that you built out. So in addition to AI-powered content generation, I showed you that it also had this dual mode capability in case you wanted to plug into a real agent versus just showing a demo. There's also a lot of comprehensive data visualizations. You can do forecasting to see what the engagement rates are across your campaign, across different cohorts. And at the bottom, there's also this AI strategy assistant. So if you wanted a chat-like interface, you can also have that in your application. So that is just, just one of the different applications that I've been able to build. I've had the chance to build several dozen applications across different industries over the last several weeks. And so for this session, we're gonna cover just at a very high level as a starting point, and we'll have follow-up webinars where we'll go deeper into each of these different topics. So what you saw already was really the marketing strategy demo. Its goal is really to translate what would normally take you days to craft into minutes. Um, and then we'll go into the perfect duo, Lovable for the front end, Lyzr for the back end. We'll talk about, why these two tools work really well together. And then I'll show you another demo that kind of combines and shows some of the differentiators that we have on the Lyzr platform in terms of being able to build an application that uses multiple LLMs in the back. And then finally, we actually have a treat. We have Shreyas, who will be presenting a new feature that we have on managerial agents, agents that can orchestrate the agents below them to do more complex things. Okay, so without further ado, let's talk about why Lovable and Lyzr are the perfect duo. Lovable is the low-code platform. You can build a really engaging front end with just simple prompts. I'll actually show you how you can even make it even easier with using one of the agents built on the Lyzr platform to build your specifications. And Lyzr is the backend. We're the advanced agent framework. This powers your application. You can orchestrate complex workflows, and this will be the brains behind your application. If you combine the two, you really get the perfect synergy. You can combine Lovable's interface design for that human in the loop customer grade experience, and you can use Lyzr's intelligence platform in order to fine tune all the different advanced functionality in your app. And really, the big benefit is accelerated development. As I mentioned, it's all about speed. You can impress your customers, finalize the UI that they'd want to use, as well as accelerate the process for the development team by giving them a clean UI where the functionality has been well defined. Okay, so and why Lovable and Lyzr work together is really that they really have complementary features that really bring your apps to life. As I mentioned, Lovable is very easy to use. You can chat with it with just conversational AI. There's also features for you to drag and drop and kind of edit the code depending on which additions that you use. And it's perfect for MVPs as well as building internal tools and prototypes. Lyzr, on the other hand, and we're growing rapidly in terms of what features, but this lets you orchestrate and kind of define the different functionality with LLMs behind the scenes. It has advanced functionality that we'll go into in later webinars, but right now, what you'll be able to see is how easily you'll be able to train an agent and incorporate that into your application. So I think most people here are familiar with ChatGPT. What you'll see with ChatGPT is that although you can generate a lot of output, most of the output is very text heavy. And so when you have something more complex, like a marketing strategy, it makes it really hard to ingest the content. And by using the combination of Lovable and Lyzr to build your apps instead, you can make the applications much richer. You can present the data in a much more intuitive and engaging context to your user. And of course, you can incorporate a lot of advanced functionality like file uploads and other automated processing. Okay, so I'll just kind of pause here. Were there any questions from the audience that we should address, Ani? Okay, so if there isn't, so actually, just a few days ago, my process of actually using Lovable and Lyzr has changed. So just a few days ago, I used to use ChatGPT to generate the product requirements document, but just in the last few days, we were able to generate an agent that you can use, and we've published the agent. So to use the agent, you can just type in as much specifics about what you're looking for in your application, and this agent will generate a concise product requirements document that you can copy and paste and use in Lovable or any similar tool. Okay, so you can see here that in just a few seconds, the agent will generate a very structured PRD that I've taken and pasted into Lovable. I'll show you what Lovable will create once you paste in this PRD. So as you can see, just this is a very tailored PRD, which is designed for Lovable and Bolt. It includes some instructions in terms of how to use the Lyzr agents via edge functions. So this sets the stage for you to be able to build your app in the right way. So what I'm showing you here is really what happens after you paste in the PRD into Lovable. I've taken the step to paste this in advance because it takes maybe 5 or 6 minutes typically when it builds the first app. But you'll see here that after pasting the PRD, Lovable will respond to you in a very natural language in terms of here's the different features that it's integrated. And in case that you're multitasking and you come back to your Lovable app, you can easily ask it like, what else can you suggest to make this better?
Jeremy,
And
sorry, if I can just interject, can we just zoom in and maybe show this step on the left? Is that possible?
sure. So yeah, so what you see on the left here is really the chat window in which you communicate with Lovable your requirements, and then it'll build the app on the right-hand side. So um, I, I typically suggest that you allocate more time in order to build your app. You can see here that although it can code very quickly, it doesn't do so instantaneously. So building an app, especially initially, could take maybe 5 minutes or so for the initial design before it can present something to you. And so this is the reason why I wanted to kind of start the process so that you could see how quickly the Lovable, like after 5 minutes, you already have a very nice skeleton of an application. Um, you can see that because I've asked Lovable to kind of consider ways to make it better, it's actually spent the last minute or so, making changes to the app, and you can kind of see it kind of being presented, in front of our eyes. It's made several improvements. You can see it listed here. It's made 8 changes, and at this point, you can see that the app is mostly filled out. There's different sections of it that are somewhat functional. For example, you should be able to click on the different business profile, the audience. You can see here that it's really, put in a lot already. There's an online presence. The key thing is that I didn't actually provide any detail in terms of this, like which integrations to social media I wanted to integrate. And some of these features, for example, this is my first time seeing them. So you can see here that Lovable is a really great creative tool for you to interact with. If I had any specific things that I wanted, for example, I could say things like um, build out the business profile section more or better. And you can see here that it'll just take my high level suggestions and it'll critically think about this particular area of the page and make some changes to it. And it'll suggest some opportunities to enhance the profile section. It'll make some changes and then it'll show those results back to me. So this, in my opinion, there's multiple ways that you can interact with it, but the best way is to build the skeleton and then work through each section, changing it to your specifications.
So, Jeremy, if there is a nuance to this, right? Because I think a lot of it also comes down to prompting and how much you truly understand building a marketing strategy. What would you tell people in terms of like how do you enhance a prompt for Lovable? How do you use ChatGPT to make sure it's like you get a really nice output?
That's a great question. One of the things that's really helped me is kind of joining some of the communities online that's using these tools like Reddit. And so the community is very good at sharing tips. Like you can use a git ignore in order to freeze um, uh, different parts of your application that you've already finalized to make sure that that Lovable doesn't change anything that you've already approved. You can see here that, with just a simple prompt is build out the business profile section better. It's really changed a lot of it. So you can see that now I can upload a logo. The whole layout is different. Um, and so there are, best practices in terms of how to use this to make sure that you're not wasting credits and of course and you're not encountering a lot of unnecessary errors. In future webinars we'll kind of go into more detail in terms of when you're building a complex app, especially one that's AI powered, what are the things that you can do to ensure that your development cycle is as short as possible.
Jeremy, if you don't mind, I think there's some questions here. Maybe I'll just read them out and then you could answer them. So one's around sensitivity on data privacy. So it's saying for clients, is there any instance of data stored in public domain, especially from a data privacy standpoint?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, our platform allows you to kind of store your workflow in your own VPC. Um, each of these agents can connect to your knowledge bases or any other data sources. And just like any other process, you can control, for example, encryption or how or you can mask, for example, PII data. We actually have a feature on our studio that was just released to do that. So depending on your specific use case, there's different ways that we can mitigate the exposure of your sensitive data.
Okay, sweet. There's another one which is in Lyzr Studio. Is there a template to build things with Lovable? Can you show that step where you created the Lovable friendly PRD?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So we actually, this is really the first thing we have. We do have a lot of tools that's coming that can streamline the process even further. One thing I like about this app, and this was actually suggested by our CEO, was that a typical PRD has a lot of extraneous information, things like timeline that you don't necessarily need when you're building the app. And there's also other things that you might want to consider when you're building an app with an agentic backend that you can consider. So um, this kind of shows off how you can define an output in our agent studio, something very specific, something you can tune. And of course, this is built off of an LLM that you can select. So it's very easy to build useful apps like this in order to automate some parts of your customized workflow.
Okay, great. I think there's another one which is, if I'm getting this right, the initial prompt, which is the PRD in this case, is given by Lyzr and Lovable does the rest. So if you want to just, I guess it's just similar to what I guess you answered just now.
Yeah, exactly. So what I'm showing you here, this agent that we'll publish and make available to you, this just kind of makes the process easier. Here you can see that by just entering what you're looking for, like in this case, a marketing strategy generator, the more information you can provide, the better. For example, any type of integrations that you require. What this agent does is save you the step of asking ChatGPT for a PRD, because if you do so, you might get, you know, extra information like a timeline that you don't need.
Okay. We'll take one last, and I guess we'll let you move forward. The last one here, Jeremy, is so with Lovable Lyzr integration. Like again, I guess I don't know if you already covered it. Like how do the two of them connect? How do you connect Lovable to Lyzr?
Yeah, great question. So what I'm showing you here is really the agent in terms of how I defined it. You can see here that the agent instructions of generating the PRD is defined, and so this allows me to specify exactly what I'm looking for. And once the agent has been tuned and to my specifications, I can easily incorporate that into Lovable or any other tool. So here's the agent endpoint. In future webinars, we'll show you some best practices in terms of how to handle these endpoints so that they're more performant and also safer. You can see that the endpoint currently shows you the API key exposed, but there's a lot of ways that you can hide um, those credentials. For example, using edge functions, which are very easy to use in Lovable.
Yeah, sweet. Let's move on, Jeremy.
Okay, great. Yeah, so you know, so that's the PRD generator. So as I showed you in Lovable, this is actually my backup that it's very easy to build. So as next steps, we have a number of use cases on our website to spark your creativity. We're building agents across different verticals. And so we should have, blueprints that you can adopt to make it easy for you to get started with your specific use cases. You can also schedule a one-on-one session with us. We're very high touch. We'll develop a custom workflow for you and walk you through it, including a UI prototype that meets your needs. And we can even help you in terms of developing these agents yourself. We're also going to have a number of webinars coming up to dive deeper into these topics. You guys are asking a lot of great questions about security, about how to integrate the functions, and yeah, and one of the big things that I'm really excited about, and I just heard about today, is really our orchestration layer. And so I'm happy to take more questions in general, but I'd also like to give Shreya some time so he can present the managerial orchestration agents to everybody.
Yeah, I mean, Jeremy, I think there's one question. I think Tamir, if I'm pronouncing that right. So the one is, can you show me how to build a sales and marketing agent working autonomously, changing and tweaking itself alone? I mean, maybe you can share some links post, but just at a high level, how would that look if you had to build something which is a marketing or a sales agent?
Yeah, so marketing and sales is a broad area. So, for example, the best way is kind of to define your use case more narrowly. For example, in sales, do you want a voice agent that does outreach? For marketing, do you want something that generates a blog or a LinkedIn post? It's much easier to start with something very specific in terms of what output you're looking for, and then build from there. Our agents, as we mentioned, can have shared knowledge. So as you build out your complex workflows that incorporate multiple steps in your marketing or sales process, you can create your agents so that they're specifically trained on the tasks that you want, and of course, apply the LLM that best meets your needs. And we're happy to show you how to do that for edge and marketing. We actually also shared a few of the demos in sales and marketing. Um, There's one for not just for the marketing generator, but for sales. We also have a voice agent that will be a voice dialer agent that will be released in the App Store shortly.
Okay.
So, Jeremy, is it possible for you to kind of show some of the possible use cases?
Yeah, absolutely. So here's the different use cases that you can find on our website, and the team will provide the links. This is really just the starting point of our blueprints library. You can navigate this this area of the website to see all the different agents that we have in the pipeline. And as I mentioned, we're building out this area so that there's a lot more assets that you can download and use as a starting point for your workflow.
Okay, sweet. I think Shreyas could come on literally maybe in a minute. Um,
I'm here.
okay, great. So Shreyas, just before you take over, I think because we'll give you a good 15, 20 minutes to do this. I think
Mhm.
maybe Jeremy, there's one question on Lovable and Lyzr obviously is great for MVPs. I think this is from Crystal. How would you use them within existing product stack? How do you connect with tools, I guess?
With an existing product stack, so more specifically, if you have, for example, a data source or a data system that's maybe not connected to your existing workflow, you could build a specific agent that has a service account and is trained to access, like let's say ServiceNow. So you could build an agent that would have access to ServiceNow, is trained to be able to query ServiceNow, create tickets, and update, and then easily incorporate that into your existing workflow through APIs. If there was a more specific question, I'd be happy to kind of share some more customer examples.
Yeah, I think we're good. So maybe I guess Shreyas, if you wanted to just jump in and show what's in store for us. Jeremy, thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Give me one moment. I'll just share my screen. Yes. I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, it is.
Okay. All right. Awesome. So basically, what manager agent. So even before I show you a working example, I want to explain what manager agent is. So what manager agent does is that imagine that. So let's say you have a uh, warehouse, and imagine a warehouse obviously has a manager, and that warehouse also has certain people, like each specializing in their own field. For example, there can be one person who is handling the inventory, there can be one person who is handling the order processing, and also one person who is taking care of delivery. Now there are three different tasks over here that are managed by three specialized people. Similarly, in the agentic world, you can have different specialized tasks for three different, multiple different works, right? So, similarly, in this case, I am building a warehouse manager agent wherein there is inventory agent for managing inventory, order processing agent for managing order processing, and delivery agent for managing delivery. Now, in this case, what happens is, imagine I say that XYZ wants to buy a MacBook Pro, and immediately the warehouse manager asks the inventory agent, saying that, is there a MacBook Pro available in our inventory? And then the inventory agent looks into its database, and gives back answer saying, hey, the MacBook Pro is available, so you can start the order processing. So immediately it will say the manager saying that the MacBook is available, now you can call the order processing agent. So automatically, because there is a reasoning engine behind all of this, we have our own reasoning engine. Based on the reasoning engine, it will immediately invoke the next agent, which is the order processing agent, saying that, hey, the order is available, I mean the items are available, now you can start processing the order. So after this, the order processing agent starts the order processing, calls some APIs maybe internally, and then order is generated. After the order is generated, now the third and the final task that is remaining is actually doing the delivery. Now in terms of delivery, let's for example say once the order is generated, uh, the order will be taken and the delivery agent decides the delivery, so based on the best route that is possible. So that is how this whole system works. Now this whole thing, uh, all the cases are managed just by the warehouse manager agent. So that is how the manager agent takes care of controlling these sub agents in the whole tree. So it's more like a node like structure. So and the best part is you can even have sub agents. So if your inventory manager has some other agents, like for example it can be worker agent who actually goes to check some database and come back, that can be different. And if there are multiple warehouses, again this can act as sub agent, so the whole tree can actually go down the levels. So this is basically the manager styled orchestration. Now what we have in the coming week, uh, as per our release, is this. So I'll just show you a demo sample of how it actually works. So basically now you can see that I have just created a agent here. It's called warehouse manager agent, and I'm using GPT-4o mini. And the best part, you can obviously use any provider and also test your agents based on that. But in terms of a recommendation, we would obviously recommend higher reasoning capability models so that it is much efficient at the work. So right, so this is my agent's role, which is manager agent, and I am saying that based on the customer order request, you will coordinate the activities of three specialized agent and process the order from start to finish. So just in the system prompt, you are literally saying that take the orders, and you have given a workflow in terms of how this whole thing has to behave. And then I have just added all the three agents over here, the sub agents. For example, just click here, select whichever other agents that I have created on the Lyzr agent studio, you can just do that. And once it is done, so I have just sent a message to the manager agent saying that, hey manager, I need you to process a order for Sarah Williams. She wants three Samsung Galaxy 23 Ultra and one Google Pixel, etc. etc. Now, this is my message. So, this is the whole response, which took 18 seconds because there are a lot of API calls that are going behind. So, but what we can do is immediately when you click on submit, you can obviously see the activity tab. In the activities tab, you will be able to see which agent is activated currently and which agent is actually trying to respond. So the immediately the inventory agent, because that is the first agent the manager has to invoke, so it has invoked the inventory agent over here saying that I want these products. So immediately inventory agent has said that uh, the Samsung Galaxy 23 Ultra is available in stock, and also Google Pixel is available. So it is saying both the items are in stock and ready for processing the order. The moment inventory agent replied saying that immediately manager agent saw that inventory agent is saying that items are ready for processing. So it had a thought that, so this is the reasoning capability of our own Lyzr stack. So what it is trying to do is it is doing a thinking here. So saying that I have confirmed the availability of items requested on order 3005. Now we'll forward this order details to the inventory status to process the order. Okay, and the observation is product availability is there. Next action, so it is based on these three things. The next action it is going to do is forward these order details and the inventory status to the order processing agent for the order validation and allocation. So this is what the manager thought, and immediately, as you can see here, the next action is to forward it to the order processing agent. So immediately it forwarded to the order processing agent, and order processing agent, you can see that I have verified your order. So Samsung Galaxy 23 is available, and it has actually created a order, and the API is also called for creating the order internally, and then order has been processed. Now after the order processing is done, so immediately it saw that the order is processed. Now it will call the uh, delivery coordination agent, and finally it gave me the answer that I have instructed the delivery coordination into plan and schedule a delivery for order 305. This is the final response. So basically everything what like in an independent system where when the order comes in from any website, that whole thing, from taking order to checking availability to creating order and to actually pushing the order as per schedule, is all handled by agent. So basically three people task is handled by agent, and on top of that there is a manager who overlooks everything, whatever is going, and instructs other agents to do its work. So this is the sample of our manager style orchestration. And just to have one more treat for you guys, that is, uh, we also are going to uh, come up with something called as Lyzr agent orchestrator. Now I showed you a pure agentic way of building systems, which was using the Lyzr manager agent, which was basically using purely agents to solve a problem. Now if you have certain well defined workflow wherein uncertainty is not there, for example, you if any tasks involves going from A to B, then you don't need agentic orchestration because their thinking is not required. So if you want to build something that is more workflow oriented, you can literally build it on Lyzr agent orchestrator. So this is also in our roadmap. This will be available for you, wherein you can literally connect all the agents that you have built on the studio into a workflow, and you can literally run it, and also you can see the different events that are published over here. Timeline, everything is available in terms of traceability and observability. So this is the these are the two things that are coming over in the next few weeks. Are there any questions?
Let me just check, Shreyas. Hang on 1 minute. I guess this one question may not be so much on your orchestrator, but I guess this is if you have open APIs available, Lyzr can connect. I'm assuming the single and the
Yes.
multi. Right?
Yes, definitely. So there is open API based uh, schema supported, so that you can basically connect any open API standard supported API directly into the Lyzr Studio.
Okay. Sweet. There's one more, which is I think Vibe has, who is from City Furniture. In a multi-agent setup, I guess one agent relies on the output or confirmation from another agent. How do we handle scenarios where a malicious actor manipulates the response of an agent?
Can
Measures the
you
replacing. So I'll elaborate a little bit, which I guess why I was saying, which is if an agent receives a tampered or false confirmation and proceeds with its task based on that, it could compromise the entire system, right? So what
right?
are we kind of putting in place to measure integrity and trustworthiness?
Perfect. So to actually solve that, our whole uh, infrastructure is built on safe and secure AI, safe and responsible AI. So you can, let's say for example, I just created an agent, right? On dev. One second, let me just show you on dev. So here I created my manager agent. So you can literally enable responsible AI like reflection, groundedness, AI features like toxicity check and prompt injection, so that the system knows that. So if you enable all of this, then automatically the system will make sure that uh, no bad actors can do any wrong stuff. So there is prompt injection protection, there is also reflection and toxicity check. There are different checks for your manager agent that you can actually set up, or any agent in that case, not just the manager agent.
Cool. This is, I mean, Shreyas or Jeremy, I think you, the two of you could, maybe Shreyas, you can handle this one, Jeremy can handle the other two. Akshat is asking how to build a multi-agent architecture.
So likewise, I showed you two different things, right? One was the orchestrator itself, which was a workflow style builder, which is this. Uh, by this, you can build a multi-agent orchestrator, which is a workflow kind of system. Plus, you can also have a manager styled orchestration, wherein there are sub agents and there is a manager agent that it can connect to, and you can solve your multi agent problem like that. But even if this doesn't, I mean, for 90% of the cases this will satisfy everything, because we are literally going to add ETL pipelines over here, and also we are going to add machine learning models directly connected from Bedrock to here. So most of the problem will be solved from this itself. But even if, let's say, you don't, uh, the problem is not getting solved using this, you can literally, I'll just show you the studio. Just give me 1 second. So you can just go to the studio and click on agent API over here and go to the inference section. So everything that I showed you can be done via API. So you can call our individual agents also via API. So you can literally write the code in Python, and also and similarly you can call these agents as per your requirement. So that is also available in terms of how custom you can go.
Okay. Cool. There are a couple of others which might be less multi-agent focused. Jeremy, maybe you can take this one. Can we upload a document and get results based on the document analysis? I guess that's related to you.
Yes, definitely. We actually have a few demos around that where you can even waterfall a number of different OCR technologies. So depending on the document, for example, if it has handwriting, if it has a language, a foreign language rather, there might be different OCR technologies that might perform better. So you could build an app that can waterfall through those different ones to get you the best results.
Okay. OCR, by the way, is optical character recognition. That's the tech that can recognize handwriting on a piece of paper, right? So cool. So that's one. There's another one which is, can this be optimized for content or branding, primarily research and writing for LinkedIn, Twitter posts? So maybe you can talk about some pre-built like marketing agents, plus maybe how you could build this using Lyzr Lovable.
Yeah, this is actually a very hot area with our customers. We actually have a number of customer accounts that we're working with where they provide us examples of the output that they generate, things like LinkedIn posts, branding, or blogs and other types of content. And the more the better. So if they can provide us a lot of training data, we can train an agent to kind of mimic their branding style and voice.
If I can just add a little bit to it, so I think the kind of use cases you're seeing right now with marketing is obviously add a keyword. Can you create a blog out of it? Can you repurpose that in multiple social media formats? Can you create like highly enriched SEO optimized blogs? Uh, let's call them like a common, maybe like single task agents, and then a combination of like two or three agents. And then the more complex ones, I guess, which Jeremy showed you, which is like, can you build a marketing strategy out of it? Can I add knowledge base? Can I add like a lot of PDFs and content, and then can it give me like customized recommendations on how I should do my marketing? So a lot of customizations are possible. Cool. I think that's pretty much it. I think Tamir, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. I think Jeremy, you shared the link with him on could book a demo. Uh, Jeremy, do you want to maybe quickly share your screen and show? I know I'm putting you on the spot, but there are like lots of these lovable links that you have. Do you want to just maybe
Yeah,
quickly skim through different tabs?
sure. Let me share with you this demo. So this is really one that is for document management to kind of address the question of can we build an agent that can handle documents. So this is just an example where you can upload your document and it would automatically kind of process it. So this is just since it's a demo, this is kind of doing it randomly, but you can see here that if the validation is passed, you should be able to drill down into the document. It might auto tag it in terms of what type of document it is, whether it's an invoice, a contract, or whatever. Within all the documents you upload, you should be able to, for example, click on two documents and then get an AI assisted analysis of them to see what's changed between the documents. Maybe you can also track version history. Um, Down here, this is an example of some of the KPIs that you can build around managing the accuracy of the AI, as well as having the AI automatically instigate any kind of process to kind of send the content to your coworkers or for document review and other things like that. You can easily build your application to handle any type of workflow. For example, this one is kind of built so that once the documents are processed, we can send them off to our coworkers, and through a template, we can also A/B test. For example, if we're reaching out to customers, different ways to message them, and of course, provide analytics in terms of the customer satisfaction and customer engagement with not just our outreach, but also the accuracy of the AI, of the OCR to ingest the documents so that we don't have to have human intervention to verify.
So, Jeremy, when you're building, like for example, this looks really cool, right? Channel performance, response time analysis. Is there are you specifically prompting saying create these kind of graphs? How do you think about it?
Um, yeah, but at a very high level. So, one of the things that as you start using tools like Lovable and Bolt, they're very sophisticated in terms of building out very engaging sites. So I didn't have to tell it to build any of these KPIs specifically. In fact, I don't even remember telling it to build this analytics page. You can just give it broad instructions like, you know, uh, suggest some AI-powered features that will make this app great or something or more intuitive, and then it'll actually come up with a lot of very complete suggestions for you and just build it out. That's a really great thing if you don't know what you want. Later on, as your app gets more complex, it could be a problem because it might change things that you're already happy with. And so this is one of the things that in future webinars we'll get into in terms of how to build your app in a way that you can manage what's being developed and both optimize against or the token consumption, as well as being able to build rich apps with minimal prompting.
Jeremy, I think you showed an example of like with and without agent API, right? There's one lovable link there. Maybe you can
Yeah,
also talk about, because I think Lovable is powered by OpenAI, so it also takes dummy data to give you like, hey, this is how a prototype looks like. But I guess powered with Lyzr, that's like actual data powering the backend for.
yeah. So since we have a little bit of time, let me actually just share with you that agent that I showed you at the beginning, the campaign strategy and planning copilot. So
Mm.
this is really how I built that agent. Um, you can see here that I'm using OpenAI GPT-4 Mini. Here's the instructions for that agent. One of the key things that I wanted to point out is that I added an instruction at the bottom to generate the output in JSON. And so I can put in, for example, selling Lyzr platform to startups. So let's say that's my campaign strategy. So this agent will both generate the campaign strategy in text, as well as for JSON. So the text part is for me to make sure that the output is aligned with what I'm looking for. And at the bottom, it'll produce JSON. And so I can copy and paste that and provide that to Lovable or my front end tool. And so it will know how to format the response from the endpoint that'll also provide it. So this is just a demo. I wouldn't leave the agent creating both the text and the JSON. Once I've uh, trained the agent so that the output is what I expect, I would put in instructions so that the output is only in JSON, and then I would provide that endpoint to the Lovable front end. That way, the front end will know how to format the response.
Yeah, and I remember you mentioned you could use JSON or like the API using the agent API, but it makes sense to use JSON because it retains the format.
Exactly. It makes it much more structured and easy for it to be flexible.
Okay. Sweet. So that's on the Lyzr end, or on the Lovable end, if you want to show with or without API.
Yeah. So on the on the Lovable side, rather, um, if I show you the agent, so actually, let me show you this other agent that, or here's the agent rather. And if I turn on the live mode and put,
Actually, just one more thing, Jeremy, if I can add. So that overlay that just showed up here for everyone who's kind of here, Jeremy, I think explicitly has that as a prompt, saying, right, like that should be your quick tutorial overlay that drops before you actually enter the screen. That's not a nuance that Lovable picked up.
sorry, what's not a nuance?
So, like, as soon as you loaded the campaign strategy, right, you had this overlay drop saying, "Here's a
Got
quick
it.
tutorial." That
Yeah,
was created by you, not
that's
Lovable
right.
coming up with that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I added this. I added a couple of things. One, like I added about screens, even this feature screen and this welcome modal. So you can ask Lovable to create things like this for you, like a welcome modal. So that to create something like this, it's actually very straightforward. Like if I go to Lovable, I can actually say, create a welcome modal with AI features. And then what it'll do is it'll do the same thing for this app. So it's very straightforward. You don't have to go into detail in terms of what's showing there. If you had, you can provide more guidance, like highlight the AI-powered features for business users. The more specific you can provide, the better. But it's very straightforward in terms of being able to add features like that welcome or about screen to your application.
Sweet.
So
Cool. I think that's pretty much it. Jeremy, do you want to show workflow maybe? I know I keep putting you on the spot, but do you have a workflow diagram? Could be an Excalibur, it could be JSON,
sure. Yeah,
right?
before I show you that, let me just show you how quickly I was able to create that welcome modal that you said. All I said was create a welcome modal with AI features, and it did that in a few minutes. And you can kind of see here that, it built all of this out. So the whole get started, the way it looks, what's written there. So yeah, if you want to look at marketing workflows, um, so this is a workflow of a very comprehensive marketing um, process. You can see here that all the different agents that are defined as white boxes with the black borders interact with each other in terms of generating content, passing it on to different agents, what the content strategy is, to specialized agents to generate outputs depending on what the channel is, whether it's a blog or an email or a social media post. All the different outputs that the agents can generate are in red boxes. So this allows you to not just build your workflow from anywhere, but any agent that you build out can be useful for you from the very beginning because it can generate useful output for you that will still accelerate your process.
Yeah, and if I can just add a little, so obviously this is supremely comprehensive, and imagine this is future state, right, where your entire marketing workflows automated using agents. But you can start small, right? You can start with any of those black boxes as well. You could start with a blog writing agent, right? A programmatic SEO agent, and then it can kind of map into this whole thing. So and actually, Jeremy, like that we have a lot of these pre-built agents also, right? Like for example, Scott, I think is 70% there, not with this, but let's say 70% there with, hey, here is like a blog that then gets repurposed into multiple social formats. So I think there's a lot of custom work that started kicking in. So are there any examples you want to talk about in terms of what are we seeing from an ask, from a custom workflow ask, especially on the marketing side?
Yeah, a lot of these agents are really popular. So agents around creating blogs, integrating with different platforms like LinkedIn, HubSpot, Apollo IO. Um, there's a lot of potential. In fact, one of the areas that we're looking into is lead enrichment. There's a lot of platforms like on AWS where you can purchase additional segments for the data that you have, and this additional data will be very helpful in terms of online advertising and measuring the impact and tailoring your content and message to that to each cohort. And so we're looking at ways to make it very easy for our customers to bring their CSV file and enrich it and also push it out to the programmatic ad platforms for activation.
Cool. Jeremy, I know we have maybe a minute or so, just one last ask maybe, and I don't know if it's a hard ask, but I leave it to you. Anything on recruiting that we could show as a use case?
Yeah. So I created this job description generator, and so this is the one that I wanted to show off. So I created three LLMs on Lyzr Studio, Claude, GPT from OpenAI, and also Grok. And so you can pick any one that you want to. To use this job description generator, you can enter a job title or select one from the Dropbox, and you can just easily pick the AI generated suggestions or enter your own. As you go through the job description generator and either use AI or build it out yourself, you'll see that it makes it really easy for you to not just pick out the copy that you want to display, but anything that you select is shown on the right hand side as a preview. So it's things like this where, we're thinking about how somebody in HR may be able to generate much more, a much higher quality job description, things where AI may suggest additional qualifications that they may want to consider, changing the words so that it's clear in terms of what the expectations are, or maybe making sure that areas like the benefits or the company description are included. Yeah, and then once you have the job description generated, for example, this is a very simple application. I just built it so that you can export it as a PDF, or you can copy the JD or export it as a document. But we can also incorporate this so that it can push it into any kind of hiring platforms directly.
Amazing. Cool, Jeremy. That was great. I know we'd prepped for this meeting, but I feel like I threw a few curveballs at you. So thank you for that. And yeah, so I think just as we're winding down, I'm just gonna, if anybody want to reach out to us, we could essentially email us, rather go to book a demo, write your use case, or you want to email us at subs at lyzr.ai. We'll be happy to we'll pick maybe three people and we could do the work. I mean, we could do the Lovable plus Lyzr, like a prototype for you. So I'm just going to leave the email here. And if anybody want to reach out, please do. And then we could take that forward. Awesome. Cool. I think that's pretty much it, Jeremy. Just looking if there are any other questions. Yeah. Do we share the link of that PRD agent? Or that which was that agent, right? Like where you can kind of
Yes. That agent, yeah, will be available. We'll send it out to the team along with a link to the recording and also the deck that I presented.
Okay. Cool. Looks like it was shared earlier. But cool. I think that thank you for all the folks who are in the eastern part of the world. Thank you for logging in late, and for all the folks who are in the US and especially West Coast, like Jeremy, thank you for coming on early. And I hope this was helpful. Yes, the recording will be on YouTube. We'll also share anything that we can here. And if obviously if you want something specific, email us at subs@lyzr.ai and we'll take care of you. Cool.
Thanks, everyone.
Cool. Take care.